including its birth of the railway system, ridership on the rise, and the beginning of the end. Birth of the railway. The first railway was in America, in Quincy, Massachusetts, called the Granite Railway, planned by Mr. Gridley Bryant. Construction began on April 1st, 1826, and on October 7th of the same year, its first car ran over its entire length, which was only 3 miles. Over the next 43 years, railroads were becoming a very popular way of transportation, not only for transporting goods, but also people. Railroads were under construction all over America, creating a way to unite the country from east to west. Does anyone know the date of May 10th, 1869? No?
I think you're the first train company.
Anyone? No?
I'll guess.
Alright, well yeah, it was the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad where the Golden Spike was driven into place. Here's a picture of it. The spike's 17.6 carats, but don't go and try and tear it up because someone thought of that a long time ago. So now there's just a plaque. Ridership on the rise. On its rise, more than 1,700 miles of track was laid. In 1871, the government granted over 170 million acres of land for further construction, which resulted in an additional 70,000 miles of track laid by 1880. According to Postcards and Trains by J.C. Gasillo, 2003, most historians attribute the late 1800s and early 1900s as the golden age of passenger trains. The growing popularity of railroads continued through 1920 when luxury liners started popping up across the country. By then, ridership had reached over 1 billion people. And here's just a picture of like a passenger car back in the day. You see it's pretty nice. The railroad downfall. Does anyone know the important date or the importance of the year 1896? No? No. Alright, well this is when Henry Ford built his first gasoline-powered engine. When Henry Ford made his cars affordable to the public, no one person for the next 60 or so years was aware of the pending danger we now face. A study was taken in LA in 1920 where people took 9 electric trolley rides for every one ride they took in a car. By 1924, people in LA took 1 car ride for every single trolley ride. Another major factor that contributed to the decline of interstate train ridership was the Depression. By 1930, train ridership had declined by 41%. By then, many local train systems had been replaced by other forms of transportation such as the bus system, or planes. In the 40s, almost 24 million people a year took rides on trains and buses. By the mid-1960s, the number had dropped to 7 million. When cars were made affordable in the 20s, most electric trolleys and railway systems shut down when they started losing money to the popularity of owning your own vehicle. In addition, in 1921, Congress passed the Federal Highway Act, starting the development of the interstate highway system. The beginning of the end. When train ridership hit an all-time low in the 60s, most people owned their own cars or rode bus systems, signified an era of the vehicle, and people were not ever thinking of riding a train. How many people have been on a train? Wow. Way more than I thought. Well, here's the only train that I've been on. It's called the Thunder Mountain Line. Yeah. It goes from Horseshoe Bend to halfway to Cascade. So yeah, if you want to take a woman. I suggest doing it in the winter or the fall. It's very scenic.
Is it still considered winter?
Huh?
Would you still consider this winter?
Yeah. As vehicles represented a faster way of transportation, the big rig was invented, used primarily to transport goods at a fast pace, which elevated the economy. like to thank Jim for talking and giving a little insight about big rigs, but here's what most people might not know. These big rigs, if 8,500 pounds or more, are legally permitted to emit as much pollution as several dozen cars. Most rigs are unchecked though and emit as much pollution as 150 cars. Over time, cars became more and more popular. Meanwhile, train systems were still barely alive, transporting goods and occasionally people. Most systems of mass transit have only survived in the biggest of cities where overpopulation forces them to use mass transit systems, also in many foreign countries. Here's the wrong one. Here's a picture of the Blue Train. It's a high-speed rail that goes throughout Africa. It's traveling over Victoria Falls right now. By the end of 2001, the National Automobile Dealers Association, or NADA, estimated that there were over 216.7 million cars, trucks, and SUVs in use. With over 303 million people in America, this means that there are 1.5 cars per man, woman, and child. So, obviously your kids can't drive. With that said, the average car carries 4 to 6 passengers, with a rail car that carries 3 times as much. So, yeah. According to Al Gore in An Inconvenient Truth, with Hurricane Katrina, we have now entered a period of consequences. So today I've informed you on the rise and fall of railway systems, including the birth, its ridership during the golden era, and its downfall. And here's just a side note to wrap it up. Out of the $787 billion stimulus, $8 billion of which is headed towards the new construction of high-speed rails, and 30 of which is headed to the reconstruction of American roads. Sorry for that.